smoke and stitches the first time I carried Dr. Ethan Sawyer out of a burning building. He told me I was doing it wrong. I had him in a firefighter's carry standard rescue position, 180 pounds of stubborn trauma surgeon draped over my shoulders, while flames ate through the third floor of a Beacon Hill brownstone and my breathing apparatus beeped its lower warning. We were 20 feet from the north stairwell exit when he had the audacity to critique my technique. "You're putting pressure on my diaphragm." He coughed into my turnout coat. "Compromising respiratory function. If I pass out, it's on you, firefighter." "Then maybe don't run into burning buildings, doctor," I shot back, kicking through door 12 into the stairwell. My lieutenant's voice crackled in my radio. "Reid, you got him." "Got him," I confirmed, taking the stairs 2 at a time despite the dead weight. "He's conscious and complaining, so he'll live." "I'm not complaining. I'm providing medical feedback." Ethan's protest dissolved into coughing as we hit the ground floor, and I hauled him out into the October night where Ladder 15 was still battling the blaze. I set him down harder than necessary on the sidewalk. He immediately tried to stand, swayed, and I caught his elbow. Our faces were suddenly close enough that I could see his eyes were an impossible gray blue even through the smoke residue on his face. "Stay down," I ordered. "You just inhaled half a building." "I'm a doctor. I know what I hear," broke off, coughing again, and for once didn't argue when I pushed him to sit. "There was a kid on the third floor." "We got her out first. She's fine." I pulled off my helmet, ran a gloved hand through my sweat-soaked hair. "What were you even doing in there?" "I live there. 4th floor." He gestured vaguely upward at the brownstone where flames were visible through shattered windows. I heard her screaming. Someone had too. Another cough. "You people were taking too long." "You people?" As if we weren't the ones who'd just saved his ungrateful ass. But here's the thing about that night that I didn't realize until later. The way he looked at me when I'd found him in that smoke-filled hallway. The kid pressed against his chest and his expensive shirt torn from breaking. Down her apartment door, that wasn't fear in his eyes. It was assessment, like he was already calculating how long his air would last, which exit was viable, whether he'd made the right call. The man didn't panic. He calculated, and something about that got under my skin. 2 days later, he showed up at Ladder 15's station house during morning cleanup. I was washing the engine, shirt off because Boston October was unseasonably warm and turnout gear makes you sweat like a marathon even when you're not fighting fires. I didn't hear him approach over the sound of the hose. "Firefighter Reid." His voice cut through the water noise. I turned, and there he was, Dr. Ethan Sawyer, looking like he'd walked out of a Brooks Brothers catalog. Tailored navy peacoat, dark jeans that probably cost more than my rent, leather messenger bag, not a trace of smoke or soot. The only evidence of our encounter was a healing cut above his left eyebrow. "It's Marcus," I said, killing the water. "What are you doing here?" He held up a white paper bag. "I brought apology muffins. My sister insisted I was an asshole to you during the rescue." "Your sister's not wrong." I grabbed my BFD t-shirt, started to pull it on, caught him looking at my chest before he glanced away. "Interesting. But you don't need to apologize. You were in shock." I wasn't in shock. I was irritated at my own poor judgment. He held out the bag insistently. "Take the muffins. They're from Flour Bakery, the good ones." Wait, don't miss what happened next, because this is where it gets complicated. I took the bag, our fingers brushed, and Ethan's expression did something strange. Not quite a smile, but a softening. "Also," he said, quieter now, "I wanted to properly thank you. You saved my life." "Saved your life and compromised your respiratory function," I said. "According to you." This time he did smile. I was being medically pedantic. "Occupational hazard. You were perfect." The word perfect hung in the air between us, and suddenly I was aware that I was shirtless. Still damp, probably smelling like smoke and sweat, while he stood there looking like money and medicine and things I didn't let myself think about. "Look," I said, pulling the shirt on properly. "I appreciate this, but you don't owe me anything. It's the job." "I know it's the job." He shifted his bag. "But I'd still like to buy you dinner." "As thanks, unless that's against fire department policy or something." My heart did something stupid. "Dinner? Unless you're vegetarian." I was thinking this Portuguese place in Cambridge. "I'm not vegetarian. I paused. My lieutenant was visible through the station bay doors, watching with interest. "Is this a date or a thank you?" Ethan met my eyes directly. "What would you like it to be?" Ballsy question. Dangerous question, even in 2024, even in Boston where we'd legalized marriage a decade ago, because I was still the guy who carried a Halligan bar and broke down doors, and he was clearly the guy who saved lives in a different way, and mixing those worlds was asking for complications. But his eyes were still that impossible gray blue, and I'd been thinking about them for 2 days straight. "A date," I heard myself say. "Make it a date." His smile was sunrise low and devastating. "Thursday, Sev, I'll text you the address. Wait, I don't have your number," I told him. He typed it into what looked like the newest iPhone, sent me a text. "This is Ethan, the ungrateful doctor. Dinner Thursday, 7 p.m. "You're really going to lead with ungrateful?" I said. "I'm setting expectations low so I can exceed them." He was already backing away toward a Tesla parked on the street. A goddamn Tesla. Thursday, Marcus, don't stand me up. Firefighters are pretty reliable, I called after him. So are surgeons, he shot back. We'll see who's on time. Thursday came with rain, the cold Boston kind that makes you remember summer's over. I changed clothes 3 times in my apartment in Southie. Finally, settling on dark jeans and a gray button-down my sister said made my eyes look green. The restaurant was in Inman Square, tucked into a corner I'd walked past 100 times. Ethan was already there, at a corner table, wearing a black Henley that showed he wasn't just slim. There were real shoulders under those surgeons' hands. You're early, I said, sliding into the chair across from him. Surgeons run on hospital time, always 15 minutes ahead of schedule. He poured me water from the carafe. You look nervous. I'm not nervous. Your left hand keeps checking your phone. Damn, he was observant. Old habit. We're always on call. So am I. He leaned forward slightly. Are we going to talk around this? Or can we be honest? About the fact that this is my first actual date with a man in Boston. His voice was quiet but steady. I did residency in San Francisco. It was easier there. Here, with my family, the hospital politics have been careful. Maybe too careful. The honesty gutted me. I came out to my company 2 years ago. I admitted. Most of them were cool. A few weren't, but firefighters are practically if you can do the job. They don't care who you go home to. Can you do the job? The question had weight behind it. I pulled your stubborn ass out of a fire. What do you think? He laughed, and it transformed his face. Fair point. So we're both figuring this out. Yeah, I took a drink of water, but I'm here. You're here. That's something. We ordered family style, too much food, like people do when they're nervous. But once the conversation started, it flowed. He told me about Mass General's trauma unit, about the impossible hours and impossible cases, about learning to make life or death decisions in seconds. I told him about the fire academy, about the brotherhood of Ladder 15, about the weird privilege of seeing people on their worst days and sometimes making them better. The kid from your building, I said halfway through dinner, Gabriella. She sent a card to the station, drew us all as superheroes. Ethan's expression softened. I check on her every few days. Her mother's still in my building. They got relocated to the 2nd floor while repairs happen. Gabriella asks about the big firefighter every time. The big firefighter? You are objectively large, Marcus. 6'2", 6'3", 6'3", 215. I caught myself. Why, you cataloging my stats? Doctor, maybe his foot brushed mine under the table, accident or intent. I couldn't tell. Pitt, you cataloging mine. 5'11", 180, gray blue eyes that are annoyingly distracting. Scar above left eyebrow from poor decision-making. I paused. How am I doing? Dangerously well. He flagged down the waiter, ordered something I didn't catch, turned back with that gray-blue gaze. I need to tell you something. My stomach dropped. Here it comes. The complication. The reason this won't work. I'm a workaholic, Ethan said. Trauma surgery is a jealous mistress. I pull 30-hour shifts. I miss plans because someone's bleeding out in, or 2-3. My phone is always on always. I've had 3 relationships. When I'm implode because I chose the hospital. I run into burning buildings for a living, I counted. I work 24-hour shifts. I smell like smoke even after 3 showers. I've got scars on my back from when a roof collapsed on me. I'm not exactly boyfriend material either, but you want to be wasn't a question. Someone's boyfriend. The truly shocking part was how easy it was to answer. Yeah, yours, specifically, if you're offering. Ethan's hand moved across the table, stopped just short of touching mine. I'm offering, but I need you to know what you're signing up for. I'm intense. I'm driven. I will choose my patients over date nights sometimes. I covered his hand with mine. Screw the restaurant. Screw who might see. Ethan, I get it. The job comes first. For both of us. But maybe we're both tired of coming in second to the job, you know? Maybe we can figure out how to make this work anyway. His fingers curled around mine. You're very confident for a first date. Firefighters are good under pressure. I squeezed his hand. Besides, I've seen you at your worst, smoke-covered coughing, telling me I'm doing my job wrong. It's only up from there. I was medically accurate. I kissed him, right there in the Portuguese restaurant in Inman Square, leaning across the table to cut off his protests. His lips tasted like red wine and the sea salt from dinner and something that was just him. When I pulled back, his eyes were wide. You didn't let me finish my sentence, he said. You talk too much. Doctor, and you're impulsive. Firefighter. Yeah, I sat back, not letting go of his hand. Is that a problem? His smile was slow and sure. Not even a little bit. The next 6 weeks were a masterclass in logistics. My schedule was chaos, 24 on 48 off, then random overtime when the city decided to catch fire. Ethan's was worse. He'd text me at 3 a.m. covered in someone else's blood, or call during my shift to say he couldn't make dinner because a multi-car accident had just rolled into Mass General. But we made it work. Coffee at 6 a.m. before his rounds and my shift. Late dinners when we both got off at reasonable hours. Text messages at stupid hours. You awake? GSW to the chest. Gonna be here all night. Stay safe. You too. You're distracted, Lieutenant Castellano said one morning as we did equipment checks. What's her name? His name, I corrected, watching his face. Ethan. He's a trauma surgeon. Castellano paused maybe half a second. A doctor. Christ. Reid, aim high, why don't you? He know you're an idiot who runs into fire. He's also an idiot who runs into fire, so we're even. Fair enough. Bring him by the station sometime. Let us vet him. That's how Ethan ended up at Ladder 15's Thanksgiving potluck, overdressed in designer jeans and a cashmere sweater, holding a pie from some fancy bakery and looking adorably out of place among 20 firefighters and their families. So you're the doc, Castellano said, shaking Ethan's hand with the grip that had made recruits cry. Reid talks about you. Does he? Ethan glanced at me with amusement. Good things, I hope. He said you're smart and stubborn and run toward danger instead of away from it. So basically, you're perfect for him. I wanted to die. Ethan just laughed. But here's what I remember most about that night. Watching Ethan talk shop with our medic about trauma protocols. Seeing him roll up his expensive sleeves to help with dishes. The way he leaned into me when we sat on the apparatus floor later and just existed in the noise and warmth of my found family. They love you, I said quietly. They love you, he corrected. I'm just the guy who's hopefully not going to break your heart. Are you going to break my heart? He turned to look at me, and in the dim light of the station his eyes were more gray than blue. I'm going to try really hard not to. But Marcus, he stopped. Started again. I'm in love with you. I think I've been in love with you since you carried me out of that building telling me to stop complaining. And that terrifies me because I don't know how to do this without screwing it up. The station noise faded. You're in love with me. Inconveniently, yes. I kissed him in front of all of Ladder 15. And someone whistled, and someone else said finally. And Ethan made this surprised sound against my mouth before kissing me back like I was oxygen and he'd been holding his breath. I love you too, I said when we broke apart. Even though you're a workaholic with terrible self-preservation instincts, and you're an adrenaline junkie with a hero complex. Yeah, I pulled him closer. We're kind of a disaster, huh? The best kind, Ethan agreed, and kissed me again. December hit Boston like a fist freezing rain, black ice, the kind of cold that makes your lungs hurt. I was on shift when the call came in. Structure fire, multi-alarm downtown commercial building, possible collapse. We rolled out in full dark ladder trucks screaming through streets while dispatch updated us. Office building, 12 stories. Fire on floors 6 through 9, wind making it spread fast. Multiple people trapped. The scene was hell. Flames punching through windows, smoke so thick you couldn't see the street. Command had us on interior attack search and rescue. Floors 8 and 9. I went in with Castellano, following hose lines into the black. The heat was crushing even through turnout gear. We found 3 people on 8 office workers who'd been working late, huddled in a conference room. Got them out. Went back in for 9. That's when the floor started to go, not dramatically, just a shudder. A groan. The feeling of the world shifting wrong. Castellano's eyes met mine through our masks. Move, now we ran. But the floor had other plans. I felt it give under my right foot. Felt myself dropping, grabbed for the doorframe and missed. Fell 12 feet through burning floor into the office below. Landed wrong. Heard something in my leg pop with a sound that my brain said was very, very bad. Reid. Castellano's voice from above, then into radio. Man down. Floor 9. Need immediate extraction. I tried to stand. My right leg wasn't interested in that conversation. Pain arrived like a freight train. Through the smoke I could see flames, closer now, and thought with strange clarity, this is how it ends. In fire at least it's on brand. Then I heard it, Marcus, Ethan's voice. Impossible. He shouldn't be here, but there he was. Crashing through the door in jeans and a Mass General sweatshirt. No gear, no protection, just pure stupid courage. He took one look at me, at my leg, and his expression went clinical. Probable tib-fib fracture, maybe worse. Can you move? What the hell are you doing here? I grabbed his arm. Get out. I was doing a consult across the street. I saw your ladder truck. I'm not leaving you. He was already stripping off his belt. This is going to hurt. He splintered my leg with his belt and a piece of debris while I tried not to scream. Then he got me a poor 180 pounds of dead weight in the same firefighter's carry I'd used on him. Still compromising my diaphragm, he grunted, heading for the stairwell. Still saving my ungrateful ass, I managed through the pain. We made it to the stairs. Down 1 floor. 2. My radio was screaming Castellano coordinating extraction. Command wanting status. Ethan kept moving, kept breathing, kept not dying despite the smoke that had to be shredding his lungs. Door 12. The north stairwell exit. The same door I'd carried him through 2 months ago. Full circle, except this time he was carrying me. We burst into cold December air and waiting hands my crew. Paramedics, Castellano looking 5 years older. Someone pried me away from Ethan, loaded me onto a gurney. I reached for him, found his hand. You're okay? I asked, even though I could see he wasn't. He was gray-faced and coughing blood. You're okay, he replied, which wasn't an answer. Then to the paramedics. Compound tib, possible compartment syndrome. Start an IV, get him to Mass General. We're taking you both. the paramedic said firmly. In the ambulance, Ethan sat across from me while they worked on my leg. Our eyes met. He was shaking. Adrenaline dump, shock, smoke inhalation. Take your pick. You ran into a burning building, I said, after I specifically told you not to do that. You were inside. Someone had to. He coughed hard, winced. Besides, you people were taking too long. I laughed, even though it hurt my everything. I love you too. He grabbed my hand. But you're never allowed to scare me like that again. Deal, I lied, knowing that was a promise neither of us could keep. 3 months later, the physical therapy was brutal. Compound fracture, surgery, pins, the whole 9 yards. But I had the best motivation in the world, a trauma surgeon boyfriend who took doctor's orders very seriously and showed up to my PT sessions like a beautiful, annoying drill sergeant. 10 more reps, Ethan said from where he sat on the exam table, still in scrubs from his morning shift. I hate you, I grunted, pushing through the resistance band exercise. You love me. That too. My return to duty evaluation was scheduled for next week. Castellano said I'd pass easy, that I was ahead of schedule. Ethan was less optimistic, but then again, he'd seen the x-rays. Whatever happens, he said after PT, walking with me to the parking garage. We'll figure it out. If you need more time off, we'll make it work. If you can't go back, I'm going back, I said firmly. It's who I am, Ethan. I know. He stopped, turned to face me. And I love who you are. He paused. I love you more than I love my job. And I never thought I'd say that about anyone. The confession hung between us, massive and terrifying. I love you more than fire, I said, matching his honesty. But I love you enough to keep doing the work that made me who I am, the work you fell for in the first place. The stubborn firefighter who told me to stop complaining, that's the one. He kissed me there in the parking garage, soft and sure, tasting like hospital coffee and promise. When he pulled back, he was smiling. Okay, firefighter, go back to your burning buildings, but you're mine when you come home. Always was. Doctor, always was. We walked to his Tesla hand in hand, 2 people who ran toward danger, who'd saved each other in more ways than one, who'd found something worth fighting for besides the job. That's not a bad story. That's not bad at all.